Well, welcome back to Bible Times with Zach and Josiah.
Is that the new theme song?
I hope not. Ever again. Never saying that again. So don't have to bless you with that ever again. So.
I'm going to edit it and now rewind and play again.
Yeah. Bible Times with Zach and Josiah. There you go. Exactly. There you go. Welcome to Featuring Fatherhood. We're going to do these shorter segments where we're just talking about examples in the Bible that we either connect with, we've grown fond of, we've learned a lot from, things to do, things not to do, and things like that. And you did it last week, and I'm gonna do it this week, and I'm gonna go the good old Book of Genesis. And I was actually praying about this earlier. Asking God to reveal, when it comes to a fatherly example that I want to be able to set for my children and what kind of image I want to be able to set for my children, I look to Abraham. Obviously Abraham is his historic father for many reasons, right?
Father
He was
Abraham,
exactly
many sons,
and he was given this honor, but pressure. Like, you are going to be the father of many generations. Like, that's a heavy load. I don't care who you are, but that's a heavy load. And just his story along the way, the support he gave his wife when his wife began to lose faith, and when God tasked him with something that he didn't feel like he didn't want to do. Yeah. And I was thinking that, okay, God, in a way, how can I relate similarly with that? And I thought of in my personal life, how often I'm tasked with things that I get pressured with, right? And I've even opened up to you recently. Like, I'm like, things are just heavy right now. Yeah. Like, there's things I want to do, but I just can't. And it could be tough because it can be, you could feel defeated. Yeah. And you could feel like, wow, I feel like I could be failing at this because I just cannot function with all these things. And I realized, one, God's plan for me is set and sturdy, and his promises over me are set and sturdy. And the moment I begin to falter, I can continually turn back to him and realize I don't have to lean on my own understandings. God has a plan and purpose for my life, and my job is to continue to go back to him when I'm feeling weary and tired. Especially, I'm not saying like my pressure and Abraham's pressure
a little different.
Like, little bit of a difference here, but he remained faithful through the ages when it seemed like the plan that God had in place didn't make a lot of sense. He followed through. Yeah. And the promises came to pass. And I can't imagine being in Abraham's spot regarding his son. Like, God's telling you to do something that it doesn't
make sense.
Morally make sense.
Doesn't morally make sense. It doesn't so if you're lost, I'm sure you're not lost, but if you're not sure the story, Abraham has basically, he starts off, his wife is barren at what, like age 100? Yeah. They have Isaac.
They have Isaac, and it's his only son so far. Ishmael. Yeah.
But that was with
somebody else. Yeah. That was not a good father moment, but here we are. Things were different in the Old Testament. So.
But basically, for years, God has told Abraham that he will have a kid. And now he does have a kid. And at the same time, like, part of what God also told Abraham was, you are going to be the father of a whole nation. You're going to have as many descendants as the stars. And so there comes a point after his son is here, after Isaac is here, that God tells him to take him up on the mountain and to sacrifice him. Yeah. So logically, it just doesn't make sense. Like, how am I going to have many generations if I kill my son? Yeah, exactly. And the crazy thing is, like, as they're going up, Abraham gets Isaac and gathers up, his stuff, and they're going up the mountain, and
doesn't tell Isaac, and Isaac's wondering, like, assuming they're going to, sacrifice a lamb or a ram or whatnot, and is asking Abraham, what are we doing? Like, we didn't bring the lamb? Like, what is going on? And
I have heard a thought about that. I've heard some scholars think that he was actually a lot older than, like, a little kid, and so he actually probably knew what was going on, which I don't know if that's true or not. We don't, like, Scripture doesn't say.
Yeah.
But what I do, like, if that is the case, like the fact that he kept walking with his dad, like that showed that he would, if that is the case, don't know if it is, speculation here,
he trusted.
But that would show like he trusts his dad, and like, which then connects back to Abraham trusting God.
Exactly.
Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. You're good. You're good. I mean, that's a great perspective. But then they get up there, and even if, I mean, just thinking about it, Abraham at this point is like 120.
Yeah.
Very, very old.
Yeah.
And Isaac is younger, could have easily fought his dad off.
Oh, yeah.
Could have ran.
Yeah.
But didn't.
Yeah.
And said, I trust you, Dad, and, made the decision to follow through with Abraham in the process. But then God stopped and provided the ram, which I love that, like, in the sense how, he provided the Lamb of God.
Yeah.
I've always found that to be such an incredible correspondence.
Yeah.
With how God provided Jesus.
Yeah.
In our stead, right? And I love that. But just the character that Abraham showed through this process, a lot of it's not going to make sense. Some of it just seems tough and may not be the thing that you want to do.
Yeah.
But trust in God and be the father that you need to be, and God will provide.
Yeah. So. And I think too, like showing I think the thing that Abraham did well, and we know this because we look at like the generations that came after, we look at the nation of Israel and see this, is that he taught his son how to trust God.
Yeah.
Like there wouldn't have been like that continuation.
Yeah.
Like the fact that the three things that God promised Abraham was, you will become a great nation. Like you will have a nation after you. You will have as many descendants as stars. You'll have a land. That's what it was. It was a land, a nation, and then a savior basically will come from your lineage.
Yeah.
Like for Israel to have believed that, like each son would have had to believe what his father was telling him all the way back the generations from, Isaac to Abraham.
Yeah.
And so like, I think that's, like
the example was set at the very beginning.
Yeah.
And that's incredible. It's an incredible thought.
Yeah. So I love that. I think, have you read that book that I gave you yet?
I haven't. No.
That's okay. I haven't read the one you gave me either. We're talking way back to like episode 2 or 3 of this season or this show. But, in it, the author, so the book is Family Revision by Jeremy Pryor. And he talks about like how he learned a lot about being a father by living in Israel for a season. And over there, like they look to Abraham as their example as fathers, like, which makes sense.
Yeah.
But powerful story.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
good stuff.
Well, what would be like the challenge you feel like to you or to other dads out there, like when it comes to looking at Abraham's life and how do we replicate or learn from it?
Yeah. I think, as fathers, we feel a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
We feel a lot of pressure to be good fathers, to provide for our children, not to feel pain, and for them to feel, happy and content. And I think, and like I was saying before, I felt recently just overloaded.
Yeah.
How do you handle these scenarios? Do you break down? Do you give up? Or do you turn to God and say, I trust you. We're going to follow through with this because you have a plan and purpose for my life.
Yeah.
So,
and I think there's a key thing in that too. What you just said is like, life is going to be stressful. Life is going to be hard. You're going to get hit with some hard blows. It's okay for your kids to see you like get hit, and it's okay for them to see you break down, provided that you're going to God in your breakdown.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I think of C.S. Lewis, amazing theologian and writer, and he one of his books, what's it called? A Grief Observed. Have you read that?
Yeah.
So good. Yep. It's basically just like his notebook of after his wife died, like his struggles, his questioning, like all of this stuff. He was taking his whole pain before God in a journal format. And it wasn't him losing faith. It was just him saying like, this is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm, whatever. And what I love is when I open that book up and you read the foreword, at least in the book that I had, his stepson, so his wife's son, basically said, this is him naked in his Garden of Gethsemane. Like, just full out there, like, here's his raw emotions, but here he is giving them to God.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the key thing. Like, you're going to face hard times as a dad, but as long as, like, you're showing your kids that in those hard times, even if you're, like, a little broken, even if you're struggling, like, as long as you're going back to God in those moments, like, that's going to be the key.
Yeah, that's good. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you guys. Let us know what you think in the comments if you have any thoughts on whatever we just said or any stories to share. We'd love it if you message us. So we'll catch you guys in a couple of weeks.
All right.
Bye.
Yeah.